Rain Day, Hot Stick, thank you so much, gentlemen. Fallout and Onset back here, getting ready for game number 3. It's going to be a great one here on Onset, as we've had a crazy start to game 1 and 2. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell currently sitting in a first place spot. SGP2 in second place. Teams that we would necessarily expect to be in the position that they're in there, Onset.
No, I agree, but like I said before we got underway here in the finals, expect the unexpected in Europe. You never know who's going to put in a big performance in the finals, who's going to pick up the biggest game in the finals to potentially push them towards the win. But although we've kind of been focusing on the guys who are in first, second, third place, and quite rightly so, I just want to quickly mention 6th and 7th place are the two most consistent teams for me. Alliance and Gamers Origin. We talk about these guys a lot because of consistency. They've placed themselves very, very well within the pack so far. One big kill game, along with the placement that they've had already, they could shoot up the leaderboard, and I think these two might be battling out for that first and second place.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Consistency in top 6 and 7 is great, but you need that big kill performance. You need maybe a top 2, top 3 finish to skyrocket in the leaderboards. We saw Gamers Origin do it in online tournament number 3. To be honest, we saw Alliance do it in online tournament number 2. We'll see what they can do here in number 4. Or will Nasky, Strafe, and Dell and some kind of underdog teams continue to dominate here? It's going to be an interesting one. One team in particular that we're used to seeing perform incredibly well is a team called Weigers. We actually have a chance to jump into a listen-in, some brand new technology for you guys. Let's go ahead and jump into a listen-in with Team Weigers.
I'm like, why am I jump master?
I don't think people is coming Jace here. I think you can go to the... Oh, maybe one team coming to my compound, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, they're landing close at least.
Yeah.
I can't even make the mountain, dude. South. I think they're coming. No, they're not.
They're taking the balloon?
Yeah, I'm gonna land here. We might get a kill. I got a fucking PK, dude.
Oh, PK.
Yeah, I'm taking it down. I was like, maybe I get a fucking longbow, you know, and get the kill. But...
You think it's a marker, this one? Kinda hard.
And there you have it, some insights into Team Weigers as they're dropping. One thing you notice, obviously, in gameplay, rather than going for loot, going straight for the Pathfinder beacon and an opportunity to figure out where that next ring is going to be. That puts them in a good spot for an early rotation here. You got to think, actually, I'm going to have a little bit of caster's luck, as Team Weigers could be in pretty well positioned to get an early game rotation here on set.
Yeah, completely agree with you. They managed to get the beacon. And the interesting thing with comms here that I want to kind of just break down a little bit more for people who may be looking to improve their game and looking to add that little bit of extra spice to their team is there was a possibility there that there might have been a solo who was trying to take that building as well. You heard the comms between them and they were thinking, can we challenge a solo? Can we send a couple of people to this building and just get an easy kill point on the board? That might seem like a really small thing. However, we've seen how close this European lobby is. One kill point, if you can pick that up early game, not only gets that point on the board for you, but also severely damages the team who could potentially be alongside you on the leaderboards.
Yeah, that's spot on. Sometimes early aggression does pay off. We saw it with Red Reserve in game number 1. We've seen it a lot with a lot of our North American teams who like to play aggressive and some of our European teams who like to play early on aggressive as well. But instead, they recognize, hey, it's not worth our lives. If it's an easy pick, yes. But if it's not worth your lives, then don't make that play unnecessarily. Speaking of a team with aggression, this is the squad, Quarantine Boy, a.k.a. G-Dolphin, one of the fan favorites that we're used to see playing very aggressive early on and kind of a wild card in this tournament. They could really shake things up with their aggression and with this squad.
Yeah, I agree. Aggression, it's paid off for a few teams so far, especially in the early game. It's been, how do you quell that aggression towards the mid game, towards the end game? Sometimes the adrenaline gets pumping. You want to take as many fights as possible. But like we say a lot of the time when we're watching competitive Apex Legends, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And you need to take your time. You need to make sure you have that composure. But just wanted to talk about the beacon as well that we did see early on. You are going to see a ring pull towards Sorting Factory, towards sort of the western center of the map, maybe just outside of the the west side, of Sorting Factory. So look for a lot of teams to be moving towards Sorting Factory and looking to lock down some real estate.
Yep, you see that happening right now with Triumph as they're working over towards Harvester, straight to Sorting Factory. They, of course, also have a Pathfinder in their squad, and I believe do have the intel as to where that ring is going to be. Yes, they do. So Harvester, Sorting Factory type of finish. We saw this, I believe, in Game 3 or 4 of Online Tournament number 3, and the importance of getting the Sorting Factory early or getting in a spot that you feel comfortable with. For Triumph, it's going to be up top towards Harvester right now. As they get a little high ground, they have an opportunity to poke people that are rotating through some choke points from that high ground. Of course, they do have a Watson to their name, as does every single team, with how strong of a legend Watson is, to put some fences up to make sure they don't get pushed, and to also regenerate shields with the Watson ultimate, avoid any defensive bombardment or grenades that can be thrown in them. So Triumph getting positioned pretty well. We saw the same thing from Samsung as well, as they're already positioned over towards Sorting Factory. Meanwhile, hopping on board with Cooler right now, they're going to pick themselves a spot right in the bottom left corner of Sorting Factory that they feel comfortable with on one of these water coolers.
Yeah, I love this dome building as well for this particular ring. Reason being, not only are you set up in a great position as far as, you know, the actual ring is concerned, if it does pull away from you, you're going to be the first team out of Sorting Factory to be able to get a new position on the map. Everyone else who's taken some building or some land, a place to set up in Sorting Factory that's to the east of them is going to have to rotate behind them, which means they're going to have an opportunity to get a prime position as that ring does move in.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Currently taking a quick analysis of the game and where we're at. 19 squads remain, so I didn't see which squad it was, but one squad did get eliminated. It was not Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, who are currently sitting in kind of the top left of Sorting Factory in the first house of the 3-house kind of row, and it looks like it was actually Nasky, Strafe, and Dell that may have picked up those kills, so trying to cement themselves in even better position in their first place spot. Samsung and Nisa getting shot by Katie of Team Outsiders, as it looks like that positioning that Samsung was trying to hit on a rotation may have not paid off just yet, as one is knocked.
Yeah, one does get knocked, but that's not going to be the end of the world. I haven't seen the finish come in, but there it is. The finish does actually come in. So Samsung do lose a player, which is not what you want to do early game. That's just going to make, you know, the uphill battle even tougher. But at the moment, I just want to talk about kind of the mid-game in Apex Legends. A lot of people will be watching thinking, you know, players aren't fighting. They're just sitting about at the moment. This, for me, is arguably the most important part of competitive Apex. This is where your decisions that are going to essentially map out the rest of your game, your final position, where you are going to take your fights happen. This is where the communications between the members of the team are vital. This is where knowledge of rotations is vital. And this is where knowledge of where potential end circles is so important as well. If you don't have that and you're not having these conversations right now, you're going to find yourself so far behind in the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, that's what separates some of the top teams and lesser teams. You know, you see TSM, one of the best mid-game teams in terms of their early rotations. And that's really, in a nutshell, why Pathfinder is so important. A lot of people think his mobility, his zipline, yeah, that's great. But ultimately, his beacon, his ability to find the late-game circle or ring for any kind of newer players, hit that beacon early on. Don't forget to do that, because that's so crucial for your team to get that early rotation. And that's why that mid-game is so important. But to challenge you a little bit on set, I mean, mid-game is crucial. Yes, it's good to get positioning. If you don't get that positioning, it puts you in a bad spot for late game. But you have teams that play so incredibly well in the late game and know how to position themselves perfectly. You know, the clutch moments of the late game is what I live for in Apex, but you know, it's easy to argue both sides, mid game versus late game. What's more important?
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of it comes down to composition as well. If you're seeing teams who are running that Gibraltar, you have the option to rotate in late, right? You have that artificial cover in the bubble, and you can play edge of circle. You can take your time a little bit more. And I still think it's maybe a less consistent way to play the game as far as placement is concerned. However, playing edge of circle with that Gibraltar, with the arm shield as well, you're going to have a little bit of an advantage in fights. So you've got a little bit extra HP to work with. So although you might be sacrificing some placement points and early rotation, you can make that up in kill points as well.
Yep, that's a great call. And of course, as we're talking about the kind of late game, people that kind of hug the edge of the ring, we're going to switch over to SGAP2, our number 2 team right now, playing with the Gibraltar and showcasing how that ring or edge circle type of game works as well. But again, if it comes down to your team comp, B100, same exact thing. So some good work by our observers here to kind of give a prime example of understand your team comp, KYP. Know your personnel is a common term used in esports. And based on your team comp, adjust your play style. If you're playing with the Pathfinder, you can get that early knowledge, rotate early, get in a good position. But if you're playing with the Gibraltar, don't be afraid to play the edge and try and play for kills, and use that artificial cover from the dome shield from Gibraltar to make rotations.
So I'm going to see a little bit of posturing full position on the map at the moment. And as you see, no Pathfinder on this team B100. So they're going to be kind of playing off of some other teams, maybe looking for teams who are running that Pathfinder and trying to shadow them into the circle, because they're going to be the players who have the advanced knowledge of where that rotation is going to be, where that next circle is going to be. So that's always an option, and also popping the Evo shield on your Gibraltar is something that I always love. You have that extra HP, like I mentioned on the ARP shield. Podsick mentioned it as well. We've all talked about the changes to the Evo shield and how much easier it is in order to increase those levels on it. So put it on your Gibraltar, get those shots in, stay alive, take your time, get that shield up.
Yeah, exactly right. Gibraltar does have the ability to kind of peek earlier on, thanks to the additional shield armor he does get with his passive. As of course, as I say that, he's going to try and go for some shots to get tagged up a bit here. They're currently gatekeeping, I think it's SJP2 that was rotating right behind them. So we have a Gibraltar team comp versus a Gibraltar team comp with B100 versus SJP2. And a fight is undoubtedly going to break out here as neither team is in the next ring, as the ring is now closing. Minute 30 left from that. As a good first shot's going to come through with the Peacekeeper from 3. Can he connect for the second? Looks like his teammates can do the work instead. Chases that Wraith, goes for a second, going to connect for some great damage, is free, but finally gets tagged up. Now it's going to be up to his teammates to close this one out when the dust settles. It looks like the B100 squad will come out on top with an elimination and team wipe over SJP2, our second place team in this one. Huge kills coming in from B100.
Yeah, huge kills, and that's going to have a huge impact on the leaderboard as well. These guys were holding down one of the top spots, SJP2, after that win in the last game. So B100, I was looking across their weaponry as that bubble fight was about to break out, as the engagement was to happen around that building. I just saw Peacekeepers left, right, and center. So Peacekeepers in that position, fantastic for them. They're more than happy to take that fight with that up-close weaponry.
Yep, especially because they got the slight advantage and slight tick on rotating early, and they kind of were able to gatekeep and wait for the SJP2 squad to push them. When you're on the defensive, especially with the Gibraltar on your team, you're able to get some early shots in, catch them off guard. But ultimately, it just came down to hitting shots with that Peacekeeper, like you said on set. Freed with some brilliant shots with that PK, connecting for 110, and then finishing the Wraith as the Wraith did into the void out or Q out of that fight. Now we're jumping on board with Red Reserve, a team we watched in Game 1 play incredibly aggressive early on. Now they're currently posted up in Harvester, playing with the Gibraltar, using that ultimate of the Watson to gain some shield back. They noticed in their team, though, it looks like they want the fight. Yes, they do. They see red, and they are flying right now, regaining control of middle Harvester.
Yeah, this is what we saw from them, like you mentioned, John, in the first game that we had the opportunity to watch Red Reserve. They wanted to take fights if they thought that they had an advantageous position. But one position they do have that's advantageous at the moment is this position within Harvester. If we see this ring pull, unfortunately, as we can see now on the Pathfinder beacon, it's not going to pull. But if that was going to pull towards Harvester and we didn't have that information, they would be in a prime position. But now, as you can see, they're going to have to relocate towards Sorting Factory, towards the higher ground to the west of the marshy area belowhand. So they've got some work to do here, and they're going to have to make a pretty quick rotation.
That is true. And while you're talking about some teams at Harvester in the west, look at this. G-Dolphin and co are rotating on the far east side of the map, and I don't know if they have some intel or what, but they recognize that they have a rotation for free. No one is on that side of the map, so they're just going to swing all the way to the bottom southeast of the ring and try to find some real estate or location to do exactly that. Meanwhile, on board with Weigers, are ready positioned, again, with that Pathfinder in Sorting Factory. They're in the next ring. They're in a good position here, but there's at least 4 or 5 teams around them already set up as well.
Yeah, this is where I think every single team is going to be crossing their fingers and looking to the heavens that they get that pull, because there's teams who are set up at the moment within Sorting Factory, and they're kind of hoping that it's going to pull towards them. But there's teams also that are a little bit more northern on the map who might be thinking, are we going to get the pull here? Because this next pull is so vital to the game, because if it pulls to the west of the map, every single team who is in Sorting Factory is going to have to move up. That means engagements, that means fights, and that means potential win or loss scenarios for these teams.
Which we love to see. I know every viewer watching right now, same thing. Those edge circle kind of ring engagements that drop the teams from 18 to 10 and the blink of an eye are fun to watch for sure, as we're currently continuing this storyline with B100 and teams that play the edge. You know, usually those teams will end up in some sort of fight in rotation. We're currently on a choke point right now, so they're just trying to scout out to see if they can find any other teams, much like they did with SJP2. Not going to find anyone over there just yet, but smart decision just to peek and check, as that they now know that's clear. They're going to rotate back to their side of the map.
Yeah, and just a note on B100, this isn't a team that particularly scrims either. So this is kind of a team that has been playing together, obviously grinding ranked, but they haven't been involved in a lot of competitive scrims. So for them to be performing at such a higher level within this final, it speaks volumes about them. And this could certainly be a team to watch should they put in a big performance today.
Yeah, that's a good call. Currently, B100 is sitting in last place right now in the overall point standings, but they did pick up 3 kills right there. They're looking to pop off here. But, you know, that's a slight advantage they have. If you're not scrimming, you're not playing against a lot of teams, other teams don't really know how you play. You can catch people off guard. They're one of those teams that shake up the meta and shake up the landing spots quite a bit when they make it to the finals. And they've made it to the finals a few times now. I know when watching them. So we'll see what they can do on this rotation here. They're going to be in ring right now. Meanwhile, jumping on board with a team that is familiar to the scrim side of the world, it's Samsung. Samsung Morningstar is currently in one of the trailers and positioned quite towards center circle in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a great position, but then unfortunately we mentioned the first player to go down in the entire fight, in the entire game I should say, was Nissa on Samsung. So the problem with that, he's their Watson player. So it's all great to be in a great position center map, but if you don't have that Watson generator to take those grenades, to get those fences up, it's going to be a straight fight. And to be honest with you, with their positioning, I can't see Samsung surviving too much unless they pull out something miraculous when that ring closes.
That's a good call out. Typically you'll know there's no Watson there because you don't see fences. So as soon as you see no fences, you let it rip with grenades. And especially with those two windows, they're quite vulnerable with those grenades. It looks like a push is actually going to happen. Meanwhile, Triumph can go put some good shots across map, trying to just poke and be annoying. So that actually might be Samsung's best friend because they're putting so much damage into the aggressive team. As I say that, Lemek's going to go down all up to Casper. Let's see what Casper can do right now in this situation. Casper is not in the best position.
Yeah, and I think as soon as teams realized that they didn't have a Watson in that position, that they were going to push. They realized how important that position is, and now we're going to jump on board with Ad Hoc Gaming as Zipeth is trying his best to just push some players back with the scout, and it looks like this is the other position that they like to play. Again, edge of circle here for AHG, taking the high ground side of the map though, so they're in a pretty good spot here.
Yeah, AHG with the addition of Kuya from Kababrila, replacing Zerifer from this squad in the last tournament. We all know Kababrila performed very well in online tournament 2 and 3, a very high skill, high mechanical skill team, and a lot of that was thanks to Kuya. So a great pickup for Ad Hoc Gaming, and they're doing solid so far in this tournament. Currently sitting in top 10 and 9th place with 13 points, but keep in mind there's only like 4 or 5 points that separate all the way up to second place with SJP2 at 18. They're already out. So one pop-off game from Ad Hoc Gaming, or anyone can to make the difference here. And as I say that, speaking of a pop-off, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell getting pushed from a team on the low ground. They're going to hold that off and withstand, at least for now. Now without casualty, it looks like Nasky was tagged up a bit. Navi goes down.
A few players dropping now, as we would expect. We're seeing that ring move, and this is what I meant. Every single team that was set up in Sorting Factory and hoping that it would pull towards them, well, you've got to move, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to make your way towards that zone now. I don't want to talk about how vital that pull into that truck was from Matafe. Now they have, in my opinion, the prime position on the map. They have the Watson in there as well. They have the gen down. This could be a really big game here for Ad Hoc Gaming if they can just close out these last moments.
Yeah, it's a great call on. Look at this. Look at the ring. Of the ring, there's maybe 3 buildings, all open lands. There's not going to be a lot of cover. This is where Gibraltar really shines in late games with the artificial cover, with the bubble, and then, of course, with defensive bombardment. When the ring is so small, you can do a lot of damage and force teams into your hand. So we'll see how the Gibraltar plays in effect here. As I say that, looks like the last member, Caspier of Samsung, gets taken out on board with 9-Ips. He's going to get revived back to full 125 Evo shield, fully leveled up. Claws and Faizu with some solid shield as well. Navi in a pretty decent position here with their backs against the wall, and that's actually a benefit now because any team that's going to drop is going to have to drop in front of them, minus that zip line right next to them.
Yeah, they're going to have to drop on them. They're going to be dropping into a lot of Watson fences as well, and those interception pylons are going to make it a pretty difficult position to be in. Certainly not one that I wouldn't want to find myself in if I was involved in this game. So, yeah, Na'Vi set up in a pretty good position here. You can see they've got zone, they've got cover above them, they've got the Watson ult down as well to stop any grenades that are going to fall in. Na'Vi in a fantastic position, but Alliance, the team that I mentioned, again, making it towards the end game, making it towards the final circle, but with 16 squads remaining, this could be an opportunity for them to maybe push towards the top of the leaderboards.
Currently on board with the Triumph, currently sitting on top of one of the more favorable rocks, but one member is tagged up. That's going to be Matey. Some way, somehow, using some shield cells. One by one, as it looks like they're out of shield batteries. They've been taking a lot of damage throughout. That's what that early game or mid-game poke will do. Oxbow taking up Hyarka of Red Reserve. And back to Ad Hoc Gaming, who we mentioned earlier, in a great position in this trailer, and that's going to actually stay true here, as they're able to put great shots on Na'Vi cross map. This is the team we mentioned having their backs against the wall was good, but with cover to their advantage, Zipeth and Co. of AHG can put some massive damage into Alliance and Na'Vi.
Yeah, and the big thing here that Zipeth's doing, he's making sure he's destroying generators. That means other teams can get naded out. That encourages other teams to push other teams because they see the generator has been taken down. They don't have the regenerative ability on the shield. They don't have those grenades that are going to get eaten up. So even though they're not picking up KP here, what they are doing is denying so many teams the ability to push in.
Yeah, it's crucial now. As the final ring location is going to be revealed, it is Myth, one of our consistent squads with the addition of Oxbow now that we are on screen with in a good position. They actually have complete control of almost all the cover here. Look how spread out they are, which is a good thing in this scenario, and they're easily able to get to each other if they want to. Fights going on over with NWR on the other side of the map, as teams are recognizing they're going to have to rotate here soon. Using the portal to get away momentarily, trying to get right back into the fight is Noises. And as these teams are rotating from Sorting Factory, we know there were at least 3 or 4 teams up there on the rotation. It looks like 1 or 2 only will survive. Gamers Origin being one of them, picking up some kills on Nasty, Strafe, and Del.
Yeah, Gamers Origin Alliance, they were the 2 teams that I mentioned before this game. If they have a pop-off game, or even just for Europe, I would call it a pop-off game as far as kill points is concerned. 6, 7 kill points, that they could be the 2 teams that are in contention, I should say, before the end of this game. But we're seeing big, massive shots coming in left, right, and center here from NWR, and that is going to be a clean wipe. Kill points on the board for them, and they are going to move on in the game.
Huge play from Noises, but another team is going to rotate through on the third party. And Noises, who just did so much work, is going to get caught off guard. It looks like his teammate InStyle is the last remaining. He's in a world of hurt. He gets taken out as well. And just like that, NWR, who made such a huge play, is going to get third partied and taken out early on. Smart play right there. I think it was from Thex and team name, a.k.a. G-Dolphin Squad, that rotates in late. And they're going to end up on top of the top side high ground. Acompanhe is going to get taken out early as well. Here comes rotation.
Oh, I'm not sure if he went to drop there or if he was just trying to be aggressive. The zone obviously is coming in, but he just dropped into a world of hurt. And now we're just going to see battles going down on the edge of zone consistently. Gamers Origin in all sorts of problems here, and they will be taken down.
Yeah, no, that rotation is just tough. They waited till last second, and again, we mentioned earlier, but it's a wide open no man's land in this final ring. Not only this final ring, but the last 2 rings at that. Kuya picking up an elimination as well on the top right of your screen. So it looks like Myth continues to be well positioned in this one, with the addition of Kuya to this AHC squad, also with a good rotation. They're still alive. I did see a member of Nasty, Strafe, and Del was ratting and alive as well. 6 squads remaining in this one, but there might be a few rats or solo players still trying to hide and survive towards that top 3, top 4 finish.
Yeah, Myth can be the last team to engage here if they want to. They can play towards end circle. They're the last team, essentially, with any natural cover as far as building is concerned. And the thing is here, for them, they need to try and pick up free KP, because teams are going to be rotating in weak. They're going to be having to rotate having just had a fight. This is free potential points if they want to poke out and put those shots in. They can also back up, take their time to use the Watson Gen to get those shields back as well. So they're in a prime position to potentially win this game.
Yep, no one can possibly come behind them, and like you said, they could be the last one to rotate if they do want to. Dead inside, Stanny and Co. also alive in this one. And Nasty, Strafe, and Del, we know, is one team that was alive. Gamers Origin did get eliminated moments ago. Myth, of course, on screen right now. So those are at least a few of the teams that are still open. Looks like Cooler's going to get taken out by the ring that is signed. Looks like one member of Alliance still up as well. So we mentioned they need to go big with a top finish in this late game. And Hockey just wants to try and survive. We saw the feature profile on him earlier. It was brilliant. Former member of the army in his country. That leadership obviously shows true. We'll see what he can do now with this back against the wall. Last member alive for his squad. Here comes rotation from Myth.
It's going to be a big Joe moment for him, though, if he wants to get some big points on the board for his team. Although he did find a cheeky little rat spot to maybe just wait for these teams to engage and push up. But now this is where the action really starts to pip up. We're seeing teams engaging left, right, and center. It looks like HG are going to be losing players. Madoli goes down as well. 4 squads remaining now, John.
Here it is. It looks like Myth spots one squad, recognizes let's take this fight on this one team, as we see a kill leader erupt as well. 3 squads remain. It looks like 3 members from Stanny and Co., which is dead inside, going up against 3 members of Myth. The last rat's going to get taken out. It's Matafe. 3 versus 3 fight to close this one out between these 2 teams. It looks like they're just going to be trading shots and a bit of a standoff here on set.
Yeah, and you can see it because of the natural cover. That rock is kind of the dividing line between the 2 teams. But here we go. The push is now coming in, John.
Great shots being put in from Stanny, the last member alive. He can use his teammate's shield to his advantage. Trying to pop that shield battery. Yes, he will. It's a 1 versus 1. Amaz from Myth going up against Stanny, and the use of his teammate's shield is so crucial here, as Amaz, with only 2 shields left to his name, is going to push with an R99. He gets taken out. Just like that, Stanny is going to clutch up when it matters the most in a 1 versus 1. Dead inside takes our first place victory here in this one.
Yeah, amazing finish to that game. I thought for a second, you know, you've got the gold shield. Although you've done damage, pop a cell. Give yourself that extra second. You can get that little extra bit of armor to maybe have won that fight. Maybe that's a fight he would have wanted back. But to keep composure in those 1v1 situations, we know how hectic comps get, right? We know how hectic endgames get. Adrenaline's pumping in your veins, but to come out with a 1v1 win and get the plaudits of your teammates is the best feeling in the world. So a huge congratulations, a huge win on the board.
Yeah, massive plays from Stanny. You're right. I mean, that was a 1v1, and Stanny actually rotated and kind of gave you a chance to reset the fight. So I don't know if, I think it was a Moz from Myth, was out of shields or what the scenario was in that situation, but opting to push with the R99 wide right, opting for aggression, it ended up costing him, as Stanny did come out with the fight and with the win. These have been some of the most entertaining late games or end games. We've seen a 1v2 clutch. We just saw a 1v1 clutch. Does not get better than this onset.
No, absolutely. We love end games in Apex Legends. That's what we live for. It's all about the posturing for those final moments that give us the excitement that we absolutely love. And yeah, 1v1 seems to be the special on the menu today, John. And yeah, I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah, as opposed to these absolutely insane or manic late games where there's like 40 people live in the ring. We get an intense 1v1. I will take that. I'm a big fan of that as a caster. I hope you guys are all enjoying it as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in and supporting the growth of competitive Apex. And man, what a day it's been. The content has proved true. And Hot Six said it earlier, but Apex, unlike any other BR, one of